No, it's not.
Well, no, Charlie was going to be us. So we'll probably have to- Anything to get out of work.
Okay, we are live.
All right, time is now 5:32. We'll call this special call meeting of the Cameron City Board of Adjustments to order. On October 20th.
Mr. Chairman,
November 1st.
I have Bobby Dietz on the Zoom. He will have to be leaving at around 6, and he was wondering if there's any way he could maybe address
Remove his
mega fit prior to the hearings, if that was acceptable, because after that, he won't be available.
We can do that. We can.
Okay.
Okay.
Bobby, you hear us? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, can you turn your camera on?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. All right. You have, I believe you made a copy, and you have a copy of the latest updated site plans, as well as an elevation of the fencing proposed, and then there was a notice that came from the company that provides the coolers, in which they were not really thinking that a building itself would be conducive to the circulation of the condensers and compressors on the cooler. Something else that might allow the flow, but an enclosed building would not let those breathe properly, and that you should have a copy of that or something to that effect. So. What is the cooler agent? I'm not really sure. I just know that, like most of them, they're going to have air circulation around over their condensers and their coils. And they were concerned about an enclosed structure, these being set inside an enclosed structure. And maybe you can talk to this more, but what I got from this was that it wasn't going to let the air circulate properly.
Designed to be, yeah.
Yeah, or at least have more airflow than a building would allow.
Well, it's the thing with the roof. And then the roof said it had to have a control. It couldn't be,
We said that.
let's just do that. So, Mr. Dietz, the concern was the aesthetic of outside refrigeration units. And outside refrigeration units are not allowed in that zone.
Okay.
Having outside storage. And so the board of adjustment had suggested, okay, enclose those. I mean, if you need to use it for refrigerator units, enclose them, but we can't have outside storage units in that area. And so that's kind of where we are. So do you have an alternate suggestion for how megafits need for refrigeration can be made compliant with the board's and the ordinance's requirement that we not have outside storage units in that area?
Okay, so I think initially it proposed doing a chain link fence with the slats in it, but I'm guessing that's not acceptable.
If you see these guys,
Well, and I thought, I was gonna do, were we talking about these for the front, for the quote unquote front of the building where they were talking about putting the fence, or are we talking about these around the enclosed trailer? I think we're actually talking about those for both. Okay, and I think we had said that, at the cooler storage had to be enclosed.
Yeah, that's what you guys had said at the last meeting.
Yep.
Is that the cooler storage needs to be building-like. Just because that kind of storage is not allowed in that area. But the slats through the chain link, I assume is what is being proposed, not only for surrounding the the cooling units, but also for placing along the front of the building to hide air conditioning units and so forth.
That
Is
is
that true?
correct.
Do you have, is there another alternative? Is there something more,
Structural.
yeah, more structure like?
Is Mr. Giorgio, is he in attendance?
Yes.
And so maybe I'll let Billy talk, maybe first, and then maybe I follow up after that.
So first and foremost, can we establish if that fencing is sufficient for the back?
What is considered fine.
We say,
And if so, what height?
East side,
What height are we talking?
whatever height.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to, I know that we talked about fencing, but what height do we need?
Is the elevation.
No, there's no, the elevation doesn't give us, I need dimensions on the height. And would it have the Constantine wire or the barbed wire on top?
Yeah.
No, there's no barbed wire.
No barbed wire, okay,
So-
so you're just on the fence with the slats.
That's the big metal posts are black, everything's blacked out, matches the doors on the building.
Okay.
Matches the side.
And so with this, are we talking 6 foot, 8 foot, 8 foot? What we got, what we talking about, fellas?
How tall is the building?
It's probably 20 foot in the middle.
That's what I was thinking.
I think 8 feet, is probably 6 feet is probably. So that's what we have already purchased, and it's rated to be for the loading dock is 6 feet, so it can all flow together. It's 6 feet.
There's no heating units that are taller than that or any. There's some ductwork that runs up. But most of the units are all on the ground, if I remember right.
Yeah, except for there are some this.
I was gonna say, you got where like there's three.
Yeah, we can screen that as well, just on that section.
So I guess the guys, our question is, are you content with this minus the the barbed wire as being the front of the building, for the front of that building, what we would consider the front of the building? And driving, to think about it, coming in, driving down Elk Park Boulevard, what you see is the front of the building coming off Parkway. Are we good with that? I think it's
I think that's exactly what we talked about.
it's a definite improvement.
Yeah. Look,
Can you see all right, guys?
Yeah, I think.
this is just a discussion.
Because what I could even see is, and maybe this is, maybe you could put a welcome to Calvert City thing on it, I'm just thinking it's the interest of our city, maybe you could put a welcome to Calvert City. We've got entry at like when you're going at I-24, the Kentucky Dam, maybe we can actually,
Well,
because it is the front of the building and it's the front of what people see coming into the, so if you come off the Parkway, you go straight. That's quote unquote the front of the building, and it's the first thing that people see in the city. And that's just what we gotta remember. What were you gonna say?
well, I just didn't know that we want to have, or try to force a business to
Yeah.
put one of ours, put a sign up for us.
Yeah, no, but I was,
But yeah, I don't.
there's, you could do something. There's.
So if you're good with the fence on that side, discuss further. You think that would be sufficient for you guys?
Are you guys comfortable with that? And did you come to a final conclusion on the height of it?
Did you say the dock was 6 foot or 8 foot, really?
What we have already purchased and we're ready to install to cover the loading dock, which is where you see the dry totes right now. That's 6 feet. So I assume we would just do 6 feet all the way down.
Is there, and I guess it's
just talking about fence as far as the front of the building
There's the Oak Park, so Oak Park Boulevard side.
Finish that discussion for a second. So,
The Oak Park Boulevard side.
Consensus?
Yeah.
everybody got it?
Are you okay with the 6 foot?
Everybody nod yes?
And it'd be as proposed without the,
I was gonna say, are there gonna be any gates or anything along, is it just gonna be continuous here? Yeah, we don't, no, do you need a gate for access?
And he doesn't need to access the neighbor's property, so.
All right, so on the freezers, that's on the side of the
But before
building.
you go to the previous, let me just say, when you present that at the next meeting, have Mr. Deets or somebody prepare an elevation showing that fence in place. Give us full elevations of this whole, the whole exterior of this thing as it's going to appear. Is that okay, Mr. Deets? Can you do that for us?
So you want like a CAD drawing, image showing where the elevation view, showing where the freezers are along the side of the building, and showing the screen fence, and then the same thing at the back of the building, or front of the building. however you
Yeah,
wanna
just
say
an
it.
elevation.
Depends on
Of the
that.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah, just all sides of the building showing the elevation.
Okay. Do you prefer to see like a photograph image with the fence superimposed on the image, or just like a regular construction drawing, like an architect?
Either or both, as long as it's to scale and has height.
Yeah. Yeah, just enough to give the board, an accurate depiction of what they're looking at, what they're gonna be looking at. So
Okay.
whatever most accurately reflects what this thing's gonna look like.
Okay. And then are we doing the audio was real hard to hear on my phone. Are we doing the chain link fence with the slats in both locations?
No.
Not yet.
All we've discussed is the front of the building right now.
Okay, all right, we're on the front. Okay.
So if we're thinking about this from the road, and we're okay with it on that side, enclosing the freezers isn't even visible to the road from where I'm seeing it. So I would assume that you guys would be okay with it as well. And then enclosing it with a structure like we talked, wasn't a great idea. Plus you're talking about extra money. We're only gonna be here for a couple more years. Then I'm tearing it out to move those out because those are temporary. Fence is a more feasible way for us. I just don't see where enclosing the top on that side. If it was on the other side, I could understand, but being on that side of our parking lot, which is now the back of our building, I think just fencing that in would be good enough, just like the dumpsters are fenced in.
Was that the point of our discussion where we just didn't want us, we wanted to screen, not to just say, well, these are containers sitting down here in the parking lot? Would the fencing do the same thing?
Well, I mean, so what does it actually say is in the zone is permitted as far as outdoor storage? Or outdoor,
outdoor storage has got to be by conditional use.
it just says outdoor storage.
It just says outdoor storage. Form of it is not delineated.
Our normal technique on dumpsters and other outdoor things is training of this nature.
So could we do a conditional use for 36 months?
You're doing conditional use right now for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's all-
So it would be,
It's all-
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
However, we- so,
Would how tall are those things?
Semi trailer.
They're probably 8 feet, but we could screen.
Are they stacked
I think they're just on rows.
side by side?
We can screen them to the same height, just a little above.
So you just don't see them?
You don't see them. Not at all.
Then, you gotta think of future use of that building.
And then whenever we leave that building, we can just tear that out. And then it's back to park.
The way we live, more than 8 fence, like you're speaking of, be acceptable. It would if you guys accept it.
Outdoor storage is allowed by conditional use, which is what we're working on, is that conditional use.
Yeah,
So we're
so it all
willing
be
to
together.
accept the outdoor storage units
With
with
buffer
without
size
great
units.
restrictions.
So there's no dictated buffer. It's up to you guys to determine. Well, I wasn't here. Hey, I worked 40 years. And everyone I worked with was in closed building.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
I mean, the link here is that these are actually designed to be outside and not have no separate ventilation, I guess.
Well, things on the air floor, right?
Yeah, we reached out to them about closing it. The email, I believe we forwarded it to you, which their response was.
Yeah, it came from Mike,
Michelle,
Michelle.
Michelle
Michelle
Rourke, yeah.
Rourke, Midwest Regional Sales Manager for A&M Cold Storage.
you guys probably were proposing a building just about the size.
I wanted to
of those.
make sure that, because I was also trying to see if we wanted to eliminate one or two or all down the road, how we would get them out without having to tear the structure down. So regardless, that structure, if we do have to do the roof, we will end up having to tear that out. So I just hate to throw money away, you know? If we were gonna be there forever, and that'd be different, but we're clearly outgrowing this facility. We're on our last renovation on the inside. Love for you guys to come in and take a tour and check it out and see what we're doing. It's pretty impressive. We're shipping out 30,000 meals a week to all over the US, healthy food. And we provided 100 jobs here locally, and, you know, it's good for the community. We pay taxes to all, you know, from all the business, payroll taxes, this and that. And we also, all our employees, they use all the surrounding grocery stores, liquor stores. So, I mean, we've just brought nothing but good to the area, in my opinion. So we're just asking for a little help, something quick to fix this, make it look pretty. And then in 2 or 3 years, we'll be out of your hair.
I don't, this is a broad question, Billy, but like when you all, what are some other businesses that building's gonna be a good fit? I mean, I haven't been in, I don't know what it looks like, you know, what are some other, is it only gonna be able to be
I guess
used
I
for the
could put a
commercial
Megan
kitchen?
napkin there. See what?
Is it an open house? It's kind of place,
It's
right?
it's part kitchen, part warehouse. Packaging, there's coolers inside, freezers, offices, real nice office space.
I assume it was just a metal building, probably could be made into whatever somebody wants to make. it into.
Well, depending on hoods and ventilate, you know, and there's a lot of specialty coolers, like what do you do in a building, you know? That's,
Well, those
Building
coolers,
coolers.
you can just take them out of the inside.
That's not hard to address.
yeah,
So do we find the screening around the outdoor coolers? Do we find the outdoor coolers with screening?
Those height comes in.
as long as they can't be seen.
It would need to be at least the height of the coolers. So whatever the cooler's height is, it needs to go behind that.
Put that in the drawing as well.
Yes. But that's what you guys are okay with, that same style screening.
Meantime, are you all okay with me moving forward? Because he's ready to start tomorrow on the screened-in fence, just like you see on the picture there for the loading dock. We're all okay with this one.
That's a John, but
Well, I mean, that, you're talking about going and moving forward before this thing is finished. Are we looking at this?
They don't start building. Yet. Is that
Yeah,
the question?
yeah,
Don't
Yeah,
start
don't
building.
do it now.
Just because we're doing a lot of work on that side with rollers and.
Yeah, I don't want to get started on something and then something.
They want the screening, they want to go ahead and finish screening in their loading dock.
the loading dock area is what he was asking about.
Oh, the loading dock.
You know, the truth is, Billy, everything you've done so far has been without a permit.
Permit, yeah, what did?
And so if this group were to not, you're kind of strung up anyway.
Yeah.
So understanding
Well,
that you don't have. a
I was
permit.
just gonna clean it up out back quicker. than
Yeah,
that.
right.
I'm just trying to
Sure, I understand that.
No,
That's fine, but,
check the survey lines.
but I'm not gonna say
Yes,
yes.
I'm just gonna say,
Well,
I wouldn't move until I get that permit.
before, because I don't want to do anything else as well, we talked about, we're 4 feet over here, so I want
Yeah,
to make sure I can.
we're
put
working
the
with
fence
that, right? Hey,
Yeah.
That's another
On
question.
the edge of that,
What we talked about.
rather than wasting all that concrete coming in.
Yeah, and I talked to Chip today, and he told me, call in over at Caddis. Would be contacting me maybe tomorrow to try to get, the temporary, get a temporary encroachment agreement together. Is next week, no, it's 2 weeks before the next meeting.
Yes, it's 2 weeks. Yeah, park boards next week. Is there anything else outstanding on our list there? That was about it, wasn't it?
I believe so.
I think that's what I was about. You think of anything else, Bruce? Sorry. Well, those were the only issues.
You're still confused on.
Really?
I can't remember anything else.
Or even
Those
anybody.
two issues. Closure.
No, it's not to me, honestly.
But our,
Are we willing to concede that? I think
Yes.
is the question.
It's a buffer. Is it an enclosure? Well,
No.
enclosure is not a word that you actually find, but you find it's a buffer. And so is it a buffer? Yeah, it's a buffer. Is it a building? No, it's not a building. But what's required is whatever you say is required. If you're gonna have any outside storage, you gotta have conditional use permit. What you guys are saying is, you gotta buffer it, you gotta hide it. And so the way that you hide it is whatever you guys say is the way you have to hide it. So it's not it's not an ordinance. The ordinance doesn't dictate that. It puts the decision in you guys' hands as to how you're going to buffer it.
and our ruling was that it's not anything that's been
I mean, our,
formally put down.
we-
It was our
yeah.
strong suggestion.
It was our suggestion of what we wanted to see. It's what we told them we wanted
It
to
was
see.
our desire was to see it.
But today, we just wanted to confirm that you were good with everything, because this next meeting is the final yes or no on everything.
That's correct.
I wanted to make sure y'all were good with this plan, so we didn't have to come up with an alternate.
So essentially, we are removing our ultimate desire and saying that.
You
buffer
concede
fence- We are
to,
conceding that a buffering fence will be active.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's my, everybody call my.
Okay.
So,
and Bobby, just make sure your drawings show distances of fence and, from lot lines and all that stuff.
what? The lot lines are on there. We just need to show the actual, the fencing on that.
So I see, like, how wide is that, from building to fence?
The distance,
Yeah, like how wide is that? Where it says concrete.
it should be 19 feet, 9 inches.
Okay,
It's down there at the
I
south
see it from
end.
the bottom.
Yeah, and I think it's maybe 20 feet, 7 inches on the top. It may have,
And again, that's the fence line or property line, I guess.
that's
fence
the
line.
property line of the building,
So the fence is on the property
because they won't put the fence on the property line, I guess.
line. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's not a good idea. It's in the off the property.
But assuming that the property line is the property line, the fence can go on the property line. There's no setbacks. for
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no setbacks, there's
setbacks for
no-
fence. They can go right on the property.
Yeah, fences are exempted as a structure. They are not a structure, so that you can put those anywhere in
Anywhere.
town.
Got it.
You go to my property.
Maintenance though, if you've got a fence that's on the property,
So
the maintenance,
it's not like there's no,
of course, one of these should
oh,
be
think
maintained.
utility, and there are no easement concerns, future easements, anything like that.
We don't know. That's not actually our concern.
Okay.
We're not aware of any. If it
There's
violates the
nothing that says you have to leave, so it's for a possible future easement. There's nothing like that.
Okay.
So if you,
Officially done, what I'm saying.
Okay, that's what I want, that's what I want to make sure.
Say
that
it one more time.
So what you're looking for then for Bobby, so he knows you want elevations of the building showing the fence at height and what it's gonna look like, the enclosure and how it's gonna look, and its height and the dimensions as well. Do you also, while we've got this, do you still want the fencing to show at the dumpster? Or you okay with what you have at the dumpster?
Yeah, we've seen and we know what is at the dumpster, as long as the dumpster's staying where the dumpster is, then.
The dumpster's not moving, it's already screened. It's the same, this is actually supposed to be similar to the screening that they've got already. Is that not correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Silver and bronze.
So those are the issues that I see at this point. The other one would be something the city has to rectify on the encroachment. And that would be another issue. That's one for the city. Right?
Does Bobby, do you, or
You lost him.
Oh, we do.
does there exist somewhere on the face of the earth, a drawing of the loading dock and the property lines? Does anybody, is a surveyor been out there and
It's there, it's on this,
It's
it's
on
on this page.
I was looking at it, couldn't see it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's showing the 4'9".
It's showing the offset, yeah, 4'9" is how far over it got on our property.
That's where I
You
was
see how it
asking,
tapers
like, what's the
out.
distance from the building to the front fence and everything?
They're showing the fence being on the property line.
Thin line is the property line, I think, and the dark line is the
Yes.
edge of the concrete pad. Or actually, the thin line is the edge of the concrete pad, and the dark line is the.
Oh, Bobby's back.
So is the
Yeah,
loading dock
if
on
the
that
big
end of the
concern
building,
is-
not on the front, on the back of the building?
It's on the Calvert City, the side close to.
So it's not on the back.
the ambulance building.
Well,
Well, the
it
truck.
depends on where you say the loading dock is. The truck's coming back to the building.
The
That's
trucks
correct.
come
They
in
don't
the back,
approach.
in the side. They come in the parking lot, take a look.
But the truck's hooked up here, which is the back.
I don't even know if it- where the truck backs
On-
in, where-
On the drawing that I'll turn in,
Up to the dock.
Is this building there?
No.
Bobby, you say something, Bobby?
yeah, so on the drawing that I'll turn in, we'll make the fence stand out. We'll have it in red or something, so it'll pop on it on,
So
make
it's
it
on-
easier to see.
Okay, we just, yeah, if you can do the elevation, and it's fine to superimpose it over the photograph. Is that not correct, guys?
Yes. that would be
As
the-
long as it is
So I have a question.
Sized properly. dimensionally
Yeah,
correct.
I'll make sure it's to scale.
Okay.
Not need an encroachment agreement, because that's property line area. Conflict, we just say you should go over there.
Except that's not city property.
No, but with whoever this person owns,
We don't care.
so you gotta have,
But we don't care.
yeah, okay, but I mean, because that's just the way that, if you're looking at line, that's the way that works.
Mhm.
It looks like the
If-
situation
if that is the
Yeah,
property
it's the
line.
same.
Okay,
then that
so that's it, I get it, it's the
So
same, but it's not,
We can have a hand in.
understand.
That's off of our, I mean, it's.
I just making sure that my fence lines are correct.
Whatever that, it can't, you don't need to consider the continued location of that concrete pad because the way it's depicted is it's off the property.
Got it. So really, that line can just go away.
Yeah, it serves no purpose for your considerations. But I'll get with Dennis and we'll try to get an encouragement agreement done for the city council next time.
Anything else? for Mr.
I
Dean?
mean, yeah, but if there's anything else that you guys would want him to provide as far as the site plan, let's let him know or let me know pretty quick so they can put that together. And we're not waiting to the last minute.
think we stated it, we just need to see if we have consensus.
That's correct. So you're looking at 6 foot, I got to take it, you're taking a 6 foot fence in the front as proposed, and then 8 foot or whatever the height of those coolers are. Cover the coolers, the height of the coolers. Is that correct, guys?
Yeah, I don't know, a 6 or 8 foot, as long as 6 foot at the front of the building will cover all the air conditioner units, like 3 that are stacked, that's out of, don't know what that height.
Bobby can, but when he puts it on there, they can see at that point whether that's gonna do the trick or if they'll need to go up to an 8 to do that. Okay,
We'll make sure.
yeah, he can show.
Cause I guess you could go up to a 9 if you had, I don't know how tall those are off the ground.
Well, we'll get actual measurements.
We'll provide the measurements,
Yeah.
elevations to cover everything you want covered.
Yeah.
That's the way in which you want.
Good. Okay, again,
Okay,
thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Billy.
All right, thank
Bobby,
you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank y'all very much.
Thanks, Bobby.
If you got any questions, give me a call, okay?
I'll do it. Thanks, John.
All right.
Let's go back to the agenda and then if we can discuss it.
All right. Go back in. At this point, we will recess into a special call meeting into a public, or special call meeting into a public hearing. And to hear comments from the public and the applicants for several things. First off, we'll just go down the list with the conditional use filed by Murray Eats LLC for the Southern Fried and Sweet Tea for the property at 831 East Fifth Avenue.
If you will, before, raise your right hand. State your name. I swear to tell the truth.
Is the mic on and the mic working? It wasn't working.
Yeah, I can hear Billy okay, I thought.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Murray East LLC, doing business at Southern Fried and Sweet Tea, is proposing a restaurant across the street here, where all customers will be seated inside at a table or counter, and there'll be no dancing or entertainment, as excluded in a B1 zone. So, if you will, go ahead and tell them about what your project is.
We're trying to bring a mom and pop's restaurant back across where the old smoky building was. The building's owned by my father. It has been for several years. It was leased out to several different people who run a restaurant, and then they failed. He's in bad health now, and he would love to see me to actually open this restaurant and succeed with it, and that's what we plan on doing.
I will tell you that the old shed in the back is proposed, I believe it already has been removed. They removed the old shed, it's opening up for more parking, and they're actually, based on their seating capacity, they're gonna have enough parking on property without having to have any parking off property to meet the requirements.
I assume the Murray East LLC is a manager, managed LLC. Are you
Yes.
manager?
Yes.
Okay. And Don signed as the signature of the owner. What's it say underneath that? John, it says under Don's signature.
That's
underneath
my
that.
mother's signature. She had a stroke.
Oh, that's your mom's signature. Okay. Good enough.
Greg and I were discussing earlier why we made this a conditional use in a B1 zone. I think mainly it was so that we got a mom and pop restaurant. We didn't get a Cracker Barrel or whatever, so I think this definitely meets the.
Yep. And the only building changes, it looks like it's just the awning over the door.
That is correct.
I mean, I've got, yeah, they already answered my questions in there. They talked to the building inspector, so they're good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
All right, next up on our agenda is,
Anybody else need to talk?
oh, that's right. Is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak to this for or against? And there doesn't seem to be. So moving on to next item, public hearing to receive public comment on an application for a variance filed by Robert Wilkins for his property at 1339 Colorado Street.
What this is actually Mr. Wilkins had filed, we inadvertently went through a conditional use when it should have been a variance because the last time, and they want the evidence presented in the last one to apply to this.
Yeah, we've already had this public hearing,
Yes,
I thought so.
but we had it as a conditional use hearing instead of.
instead of a variance hearing.
And you convinced me I was wrong.
You convinced me I was wrong.
Well, the reality is they're having to change the building. We had thought all that was being done was a change in use, which would not have required a variance. But because they're having to convert the building into a principal dwelling.
Into a living
Because
structure.
it's basically just a garage, now they're actually building an apartment in.
Now you're changing the quantity of
So we just
Yeah.
That's right.
like to apply.
And so it is a structure. They're changing the structure itself from an accessory structure into a principal structure. By modifying. the
Yeah,
structure.
makes sense.
So anyway,
We just need to go through the variance
that's right.
findings.
That's right.
Okay.
They're requesting that the hearing, that the evidence that was presented at the last hearing.
Apply to this.
That's right. It was taken under oath and they asked that you take cognizance of that in your consideration.
And they're not changing what they.
Okay, you can do that. So.
Got it.
Anybody here that would like to address that? No. Okay, public hearing to receive public comment on an application filed by Mr. Brad Parker for his property at 189 West 10th Avenue.
Parker, I believe, is there. If you'll come forward. You will, sir, raise your right hand, state your name,
Brad Parker?
you swear to tell the truth.
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Parker is asking for a detached garage, and the reason for the variance is because this is greater than 50%. This particular building is greater than 50% of the principal structure. And he's got, if you'll, I think you see a site plan with the application. And there's also a photo of the style of building after that.
Yeah. I remember that one.
The proposed building is the one you'll see it the back corner here.
Got it. And there's, and then the building coming down.
I think it's already been removed, hasn't it?
No, it's
No,
still,
not yet.
yeah,
Okay.
I gotta have it stored until.
Until you get, yeah, it makes sense.
I've only lived here for 60 years.
Right next to
Horse Farm
Napa.
Road.
Oh, by now.
Horse Farm Road.
Okay.
And what you know about.
Okay.
I was thinking not the others. Street on that, but yeah.
What's acreage again? Square foot is 100, square footage of the property is 114,000, almost 115,000 square feet. What's the actual acreage? Do you know, sir?
Oh, close to 4. I think.
Yeah.
I probably got that at home, but
That's fine.
I'm mowing, I'm 27. but-
I don't know, this doesn't
Oh,
matter.
it's 2.664.
If you look at the deed, does the deed, they bought it and sold it to them. It's exactly the purchaser and the seller.
Probably put that in joint names. Is that what you guys did?
I mean, it looks like.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, look at the second line. In consideration of placing title in joint.
Do you,
That's what the
Survivorship.
you want him to address,
Okay.
sorry, do you want him to address anything on this?
Hang on just a minute.
Large lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, over 2.5
Like
acres.
there's a lot of garage bigger than.
Yeah, yeah, no, I get it. I-
Is there a plaque? Did you say there was a site? plan?
Here.
Yeah, sketch in there, yeah, it's in the
It's just a
application.
sketch. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, I've seen that. It's right there.
It is, right there.
Yeah, it's this color, so it's the same color as this house pretty much, looks like. It's a nice looking
Yeah, the
building.
picture of the building will be the exact color, the only difference is the garage doors, if you'll notice in that picture. the picture are not the same size.
Yeah.
As each other.
I don't know. My garage door. would
Be the same size. Okay, cool. I don't have any questions.
Any questions?
I need some meeting.
There you go. Anybody else here wish to speak to this? And hearing none, we'll move on.
Anybody?
But
Does Groundhog go with all that?
You know, I hadn't seen him, about a year. I don't know, he finally got the fact he can't get out of the ground.
Get out of the ground.
all right. Fourth item, public hearing to receive public comment on an applicant for application for a variance filed by Eminent LLC for the property at 86 Campbell Drive.
Turn that down. Okay, if you want to raise your right hand. State your name.
Tabitha Thomas.
Okay, you swear to tell the truth?
Yes.
Okay, and what's your position with quality?
I'm the general manager.
And registration, okay.
For the LLC?
I'm sorry?
Related to the LLC.
The variance requested here is they're putting in new signage. And the one particular sign that we're talking about is listed site plan. That's the
Old
freestanding.
Super 8 sign, right?
Yeah, it's actually the pole is there, but because they're having to put a new head on it, we got into the situation of the variance, but it's also in the setback. So if you look on your site plan, you get your reading glasses.
From Campbell Lane.
Yeah, Camel Lane, which is the right of way.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, I think it's more than that, wasn't it? It's 25 foot in the front, too, so. Not for sign. Is it? Double check that on a billboard. Well, the large side. What it is, it's sitting in the setback is what it is, and it's already there, been there for all this time, but they're wanting to place a new head on it, and that's basically where we're at. And the variance, large sign, 30 foot from any public street, and which would be Camel Lane in this case. And it's not gonna be that way without having to redo the whole sign. So they're asking because the sign has been there. So
20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. To just to utilize that one.
I'm good with it. I understand.
They're making all their other signs in compliance. If you'll notice, they're doing the two additional directional signs or medium signs. Are gonna be in such that they have the correct distance from each other and from the big major sign. And they will be out of the right of way and back on the property and where they're supposed to be. So the only sign that requires a variance in this case is the billboard or the big freestanding. There's pictures of it also included to show you what they're going basically from to and then the dimensions.
This is both, is his position with the LLC.
He's the,
He's the
he's
member.
the main one, yes. Yes.
Are there other members?
There's 3 other ones under that.
Okay.
He's the managing member.
He is,
Yes.
okay. We need to, he's both the applicant, well, Eminent is both the applicant and the landowner, right?
Yes.
They're both.
Yes.
And so we simply need to note on the application, Mr. Meta's authority for signing on behalf of the LLC.
Yeah.
And so he was, okay.
Makes sense.
Let's go to 15 seconds of law school. LLCs are either member managed or manager managed. And if I have my computer, I can tell you 10 seconds which one this one is, because that's part of setting up the LLC. Do you know what this one is? Is it manager managed? It is manager managed, and he is the manager. Got it. Would, can we amend the application to reflect him as the managing member of?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you do that, Dan?
I will.
Managing member or managing?
He's the manager. That's actually, he's just the manager.
So
How do you want this written on it? Manager, eminent LLC, right?
Well, you were the one that threw in the extra word.
I do say code, but manager is what he is.
Yeah.
If it is a manager, managed LLC, and he is the manager. He is a member, but he is the manager. Which is
Manager, eminent LLC.
That's it.
Okay, any questions on the signs?
So there's the on building signs and the sign.
Except the on building signs.
Yeah,
they're good. We don't need anything on that because
And you don't
that's-
need anything on the truck
No.
signs.
the other signs we don't either because they meet the criteria. The only variance required is for the one.
No, I just.
The others actually fit within their sign zoning compliance.
Hey, Paul.
We can.
It just,
We have
it
to
would look
talk
nicer,
about
but that was, that's
We
all.
would have to rent, I would have to rent a lift and then have somebody go on it. So yes, we can do it. We did it to paint over the Super 8. So yeah, I guess we could.
No, my thing is, again, it's like Megapit, it is the entrance to our city, and it makes it big, it just, little
Right,
things like that
yes.
make it big, and I'm glad you all
Yes.
have changed back out, it's exciting to see this one, doing, just get the sign changed. But yeah, no, if you could do that, we don't have to put that in there, but I think it would look nicer.
We
Yeah.
can, yes, that wouldn't be an issue.
And the main thing we're addressing here is the variance regarding the placement of the pole.
That's all.
That's
Just
all
the
we're
variance
actually
on the
addressing.
big pole is all you're doing. Everything else is zoning compliance.
Got
Because they've actually moved everything else into compliance with our ordinance.
If I now recognize everybody in the audience, I assume they don't want to talk. Okay, with that, we will consider the public hearing adjourned, and we will reconvene into our special call meeting. And first item on that agenda is approval of the minutes from October 25th regular meeting. Do we have a motion concerning minutes?
Like motion to accept.
Jim makes a motion. For a second. Jerry seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And then we move on to consideration of our conditional use for Murray Eats LLC.
Very good. All right. Let's make our findings. This is for the Murray Eats project. Do you find adequate evidence showing that the use at the proposed location is in fact a conditional use as established under the provisions of Article 7 appears on the official schedule of uses and all? As your attorney, I will advise you that yes.
Mr. Cameron? Yes. Mr. Sills?
Yes.
Mr. Trailer? Yes. Mr. Gregory?
Yes. Do you find that the proposed use will be harmonious with and in accordance with the general objectives or with any specific objective of the city's comprehensive plan and or zoning ordinance? And I will note that this is a B1 neighborhood neighborhood business district.
Mr. Sills?
Yes.
Mr. Trailer? Yes. Mr. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Kearns? Yes.
We find that the proposed use will be designed, constructed, operated, and maintained so as to be harmonious and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the general vicinity, and that such use will not change the essential character of the same.
Mr. Trailer? Yes. Mr. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Kearns? Yes. Mr. Sills?
Yes.
We find that the proposed use will not be hazardous or disturbing to existing or future neighboring uses.
Mr. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Kearns? Yes. Mr. Sills?
Yes.
And Mr. Trailer? Yes.
We find that the proposed use may be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, and fire protection, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewer and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use will be able to provide adequately any such service.
Mr. Kearns? Yes. Mr. Sills?
Yes.
Mr. Trailer? Yes. Mr. Gregory?
Yes. We found that the proposed use will not create excessive additional requirements of public health, public facilities, and services, and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare.
Mr. Sills?
Yes.
Mr. Trailer? Yes. Mr. Gregory?
Yes.
Mr. Kearns? Yes.
We find that the proposed use use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions or operations that will be detrimental to any person's property or general welfare by reason of excessive production of traffic noise, smoke, fumes, glare, or. True.
Yes.
Gregory? Yes.
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 You find that the proposed use will have vehicular approaches to the property which shall be so designed as not to create an interference with traffic on surrounding public roads. Gregory? Yes.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yes.
You find that the proposed use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of natural scenic or historic feature of major importance. Mr. Kearns?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Gregory? Yes. All answers in the affirmative. Having made those findings, you may now entertain a motion to approve, disapprove, or modify the application.
I'll make a motion that we approve Murray Pizza permit for the restaurant.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, do we have any other discussion, any requirements we'd like to check in? Anything you want to- Right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. Welcome to the neighborhood.
No, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
And got it open and next door.
Open Friday.
We have to, we'll get there Friday.
And what kind of food? is it?
It's good. Of course, looking at Facebook pictures, it's good food.
So it's gonna be a southern cuisine, but we're gonna twist it up on the weekends. You're gonna have steak, you'll have shrimp, pasta.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Check it out on Facebook. You'll like it.
Okay.
We hope to get open on Friday. We have to shop.
Very good.
All right, next item on our agenda, consider the variance filed by Robert Wilkins. This is the one that we were using the evidence that we found in the last public hearing to do the variance because it is a
We found it wrong in the lab, yeah.
principal structure, second principal structure, not a.
Okay, we're gonna have several variances here, so let me just, prior to asking for the findings, let me apprise you that as you consider your answers to the numbered questions, consider them in light of the following issues. First, did the requested variance arise from special circumstances which do not generally apply to land in the general vicinity or the same zone? Okay, that's one thought. Secondly, would strict application of the provisions of the regulation deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of the land or create an unnecessary hardship? Right. And thirdly, are the circumstances the result of actions of the applicant taken subsequent to the adoption of the zoning regulation from which relief is sought? Did they just go up in my mind? Okay. All right. After considering those issues, do you find that the granting of this variance for the second principal structure, Mr. Wilkins, will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare? Mr. Gregory? Yes. Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you find that the granting of the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity? Mr. Turner?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Gregory? Yes. Do you find that the granting of this variance will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public? Mr. Sills?
Yes.
Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Gregory? Yes. Mr. Kern?
Yes.
And do you find that the granting of this variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning? Mr. Tyler?
Yes.
Mr. Gregory? Yes. Kern?
Yes.
And Mr. Sills?
Yes.
All answers in the affirmative. And I should note for you that the statute does require that the board shall deny any request for a variance arising from circumstances that are the result of willful violations of the zoning regulation. All right, so having made those findings, you can entertain a motion to grant or deny the variance. Make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second.
I send this without conditions. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's presented based on the evidence in the last one's here.
Let me,
The
the last one's here.
last posting, we did have a condition that it was allowed for
For family.
family relations only.
Only, yeah. No Airbnbs or anything like that.
Maybe in your minutes.
But just as we approved.
Very good. All right.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Aye. That passes. All
Very
right.
good.
Mr. Parker's request, variance concerning wanting a larger garage in his house. Didn't happen.
I love it.
Probably shouldn't deny it just because you're envious.
You need to hold these tracks.
I'm just saying. All right. Consider the same, with the same considerations of the last variance. You find that the granting of this variance will not adversely affect the public health and safety or welfare. Mr. Turner.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Yes. You find that the granting of this variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Kearns. Yes. Mr. Gregory. Yes. Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
You find that the proposed variance will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public. Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Yes. Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
And do you find that the granting of this variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zone? Gregory. Yes. Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
All answers in the affirmative. And we will note that that no construction has begun, so there's been no violation of the ordinance currently. So, given the findings that you've made, you can now entertain a motion to grant or deny this. With or without condition.
I'll make a motion that we approve Mr. Parker's variance application in his metal building as it was proposed to us.
Do we have a second?
Also,
Any discussion, any conditions?
Do we need to change the application to reflect the 50%? Or not?
given the evidence that was given, we're probably all right.
Good enough.
It just says it was a large building. It didn't say it was great. It didn't say why it violated.
You didn't say it, yeah, okay.
We're not required.
All right.
to-
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, no like sign. All right, last one.
All right, with regard to,
Eminence LLC,
right.
signage at Campbell Drive.
And do you find that the granting of this variance will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare? Mr. Gregory. Yes. Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Trailer.
Yes.
You find that the variance will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Trailer.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Yes. You find that the proposed variance will not cause a hazard or a nuisance to the public. Mr. Sills.
Yes.
Mr. Trailer.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Yes. Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
And do you find that the proposed variance will not allow an unreasonable circumvention of the requirements of the zoning? Mr. Trailer.
Yes.
Mr. Gregory. Yes. Mr. Kearns.
Yes.
Mr. Sills.
Yes.
All answers in the affirmative. And we'll note that. No. Yeah, they have not altered the sign. At this point, the sign is grandfathered in as it currently exists.
They actually have. It's a
Well,
Super 8 sign, now it's half
They've
black.
taken the sign down.
Yeah.
The old sign is taken off.
Yeah.
But they've not constructed.
They have not. They've not added anything back.
So there's been no violation.
Yeah, no,
Been no
yeah.
variance.
Yeah.
There's been no violation of setback at this.
That's correct.
And so there's not been a violation, so there's been no will. And having made the findings that you made, we can now entertain
I'll make a
Motion
motion that we approve.
Motion, there's a second. Then give the second, any discussion, any conditions, we left for free, but we won't put that in there. All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, like sign? There are none. That brings us to the Mega Pit Mills LLC discussion, which we've already had. So that brings us to adjournment.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Hey, one thing is, I think you all have the town rate, or like you charge Calvert City residents an extra rate, and sometimes we need to reserve rooms. That's just something outside of this.
Yeah, we can always do it.
Okay.
We'll give better rates if you like. there's
Well,
rates.
I called the other night because my mom needed a room. They said it was gonna be $280 because she was local. So
Yes, because we have a local people who
Yeah.
can't go down, but yes, if
I don't
you
mind.
speak it to me, I will
Okay.
give them permission to give it, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I had to ring it, and I had to pay $280 because she lives, has a covered city address. Because they don't want local, yeah. She locked herself out of her house, and I had to get her. So it was like 11 o'clock, so she just was gonna go get her. And yeah, that's what it is. The mega pit thing. So what do they have to get with the city, Greg, for the loading dock?
It's called a temporary encroachment agreement. Anytime, it's like, what the coal terminal has for the railroad traffic
Yeah.
going across. Anytime a private entity is going to utilize city property on a temporary, but it's got to be on a temporary basis, otherwise it's going to be. Or it's a 20-year franchise. It's utilizing city property for private purposes is a highly regulated activity. But the city can agree with the private entity. We've done it with Allwood when they put something over the road. We've done it with the railroad tracks crossing the road. We've done it with Texas Gas running a gas line across the golf course. We can do what's called a temporary encroachment agreement. And basically it says that if the city tells you to, you got to move it. But
Didn't we do one with Gradell at one time?
I
They were
think so.
running loaders, yeah.
But that's what it is a temporary encroachment agreement. So what I've been told by the mayor is that the city is willing to, or he thinks the city is willing to allow that 4 foot, whatever it is, 6 inches, whatever it is, encroachment of that wall over on city property. So long, in consideration for the unrestricted right to cross their Megapix property with fire.
Makes sense, makes sense. Where was it? Because where my mind was going when we were talking about the variance, like, would they, if that was constructed properly and not on city property, would they have had to have a variance for that side, for that loading dock? Like, did they construct it willfully ignoring the zone?
I have not looked at it. If it's just a skirt, if it's just concrete on the ground, that's not structure, and so there's no setback required.
It's just concrete on the ground, other than the ground way down there.
In the concrete's way up here.
Right.
It's concrete wall.
It's
No,
a
it's
6
set
foot
up
long.
to catch the back of the truck.
Yeah,
loading
that's the size of it's the back of a truck. It's the, back of a semi.
So
And I'm wondering if we're talking about these variances where there's been the 3 or 4 facts that you called out, if it had been built right, did they violate?
I don't know. But I'll have to look at it. There's a variance going, yeah, and what you're asking is as part of this conditional use permit, well, I also need a variance.
Are we gonna need a variance? And if so,
They
then
got a
we,
variance.
do we have those considerations? Did they willfully, because I mean, that's a yes or no answer.
Did we not discuss that? They had a variance application at the last meeting, if I'm not mistaken, did they not?
Did they? I didn't think that. I don't think they had an additional application that we've seen.
The last meeting.
There was-
when they brought their,
The meeting I missed, there was a public hearing for a variance.
Okay. Was that one was that in August?
That was all, meeting I missed.
Okay. So there wasn't a variance.
So I would assume there was.
We'll double check and see, but I won't say there was a hearing for it.
I mean, we didn't vote on it. I know. So because, and so correct me if I'm wrong, thinking through this, then we're gonna have to answer those 3 or 4, whatever those questions you get.
Well, the big one is you can't grant if there's a willful violation.
Okay, that's just automatic. No, it doesn't even matter which, it's just automatic.
Well, if you find it willful, there's been several times in the past you found it wasn't willful and
It's
allowed
done
it.
in ignorance. So sometimes people will violate just not knowing, and this board has found there was not a willful violation, there was no will involved.
And then sometimes you violate conditional use permits for 10 years, time over time.
Right, but a variance is different.
I understand.
A variance would trigger-
But behavior wise, you violate, if you're gonna violate, you're gonna violate.
But that's a good point.
And there's a history of violation.
And it is an issue that you need to address. Frankly, I've not gone out there and looked at it.
Well, I mean, because if that's an automatic, then that's an automatic, and we need to know that.
Right.
And I think that I'm okay, guy. I really am, like I told tonight, I'm okay with the fence, but I just want us all to remember that that's a populated intersection and it's the first thing that people see when they come to our city. And, you know, it's very nice up 62. And as long as we're all content that, like, I wouldn't have been okay with the barbed wire on top. I don't want it to look like a prison.
No.
But,
Keep the
but
employees.
I mean, you know, and that's somebody like, or would we be, are you content bringing Mitch McConnell or whoever, bringing the president and that being the entrance to the city? And I think so.
It's an improvement over what. This point.
And then I guess it's not our concern to worry about, but then what does this all leave for future use of that building? Like, I mean, are we just gonna have a totally vacant building and then it's not a usable building in 36 months?
It's not fathom what.
And
Facing the wrong direction.
If the city agrees to that encroachment, they sell it, will they put all that again, or does that go with?
or is it, I don't think any transaction. I think they just
No,
agree to let them be there.
That will just be with that one party, so if they sell it, then the city will, you know, that'll be an issue as between the new owner and the city. Mm. Yeah, that encroachment agreement will be filed, it'll be a record over the proof.
And
He's talking.
I just can't think of, like, that's gonna be a useless building for 36 months. I don't want it to be.
All right, let's adjourn this.
Oh,
meeting.
yeah, we're getting.
Let's adjourn this meeting. We're getting off,
Yeah.
off topic. Doing more commentary.
And then as well, or no variance is concerned for what they consider the front side is needed, Greg?
I'm sorry. say it again.
No.
No, there's not a variance needed for the front side.
No,
To my knowledge.
it's a fence, so no variance is
No
needed.
variance is needed.
You don't have to have, you don't even have to have zoning compliance for a fence.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A motion to second.
Also,
Seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And we are, consider ourselves